This is the Political Spotlight.
The Political Spotlight is a joke. It's more like a political flop.
Nobody listens to Bilbrey.
He's just a wannabe podcaster. No one takes him seriously.
He is a rude, crude dude that will never go any further than broadcasting from his mother's basement.
Bilbrey is a wrecking ball for Indiana politicians.
Grab another box of Twinkies and generic cola, Bilbrey, and get back to your microphone and your audience of nobodies.
The Political Spotlight is a joke. He is like a rude, crude dude that will never go
Bilbrey's a wrecking ball for Indiana politics. Shut that stupid Bilbrey up.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. The moment we have all been waiting for. It is finally here, ladies and gentlemen. I've been waiting for this report for the better part of 3 weeks, and the report is here. Ladies and gentlemen, I have talked to lots of different people today. Today has been a busy day. So we have a great show in store for you all tonight. If you would be so kind to hit that like button, smash the like button, and let the YouTube algorithm gods know that you're watching and that you like what you're seeing. We would be so kind if you would do that. Connect with us here. You can communicate and do all of that. Share the show. Let everybody know that you are a nobody here with us. That would be fantastic. So we are taking a little bit of a break from the candidate interviews. Oh, thank God. I'm telling you, ladies and gentlemen, you know I love you because I do the candidate interviews. There are people that say, oh, well, that doesn't move the needle very much. That doesn't move the needle. And you know what? Maybe it doesn't. Here, let me tell you let me be perfectly honest. It doesn't. But it's not because people don't listen. We are listened to by lots and lots and lots of people. But I would even be willing to say that a good majority of the people that listen don't vote because people just don't vote. We are in the midterm elections. This is a midterm election. We are going to see very low voter turnout. And let me tell you, this is kind of a me griping session. Everybody that you don't like, everybody that we don't like, they're going to be reelected or elected because of the low voter turnout. This is the thing that I cannot apparently crack through the nut to get people to understand. There are more of us. There are more of us than there are them. Just speaking truthfully. There are more of us than they are them. But there are more of them that vote. All right? Because the people who are mad, the people that gripe, the people that bitch, you get people that say, well, voting doesn't matter. I'm not going to vote and give somebody my power. And I'm not going to. All the bullcrap excuses that we tell ourselves and we tell each other, and the laziness and the, oh, I simply forgot. And it's more important, who's on Monday Night Raw or what's going on the sports team or this or that. All of that crap we tell ourselves are all far more important than getting active, getting educated, getting involved, going and vote, deciding that we're going to file to run ourselves. Whatever the situation is, it's all convoluted and it's nonsensical. And that's why, ladies and gentlemen, we're going to have a low voter turnout this midterm election. And the chances are the people that we are rallying against, they're going to be reelected. They're going to be elected. And that's the long and the short of it. That it sucks. It really sucks. We try to work and bring you the information. We try to get people active and engaged. And for every person that we get active and engaged, there's 10, 15, 20, 30 other more people that act like they watch, that act like they're involved. But at the end of the day, when it comes down to pulling the trigger, which by that what I mean is going to the polls and voting and doing that stuff, there's always an excuse why people don't do it. And for those of you that are voting, not so fast, have already voted, for those people that are casting their votes and going out, I know you guys, the people here watching, the people here commenting, the people engaging, you guys are the best audience there is. I understand you guys are involved. You know, the people watching, you know, Rob Kendall and some of the other programs and shows around. I know that those people are out working, and you guys are magnificent. But there's all these peripheral people, the people that watch that don't comment, all of the thousands and thousands of views that we are getting across all platforms. You know, everybody wants to look at, you know, one little metric here or there and say, oh, look, you know, whatever. For a fact, I know that the people that we're reaching, we are needing to wake those people up, and I don't know what it's going to take. That's what I keep saying. I don't know what it's going to take to wake everybody up, because just alone, if the number of people that watched our show, if every one of them voted, we would make big differences everywhere. Hello there, David Williams. Hey, I'm getting a lot of good feedback on your show last night, bro. Just FYI, I've got a couple people that reached out that a couple of people that it's not surprising that they would reach out. And then you know, I figured they would, but then there were some people that I'm actually surprised that reached out. And look, hello, it's the birthday boy himself, Mr. Tim Nickham. Happy birthday, Tim. Welcome, welcome. Happy birthday. And as is our custom here, when there is a person who has a birthday and is here and part of the program, we will release the birthday birthday horror. I guess it's a birthday horror to the people who have birthdays, and it is Tim, and he's here. Today's his birthday. We wish him a very, very happy birthday. And some people know what's coming. And I don't know if Tim has ever been here, but ladies and gentlemen, without further ado, here we go. Happy birthday. And this is for you.
Happy birthday, Mr. President. Happy birthday, Mr. President. Happy birthday, Miss.
It's like a nightmare. It's like a nightmare. You can just forget that, and people are instantly changing the thumbs to dislikes and all of that. No, in all seriousness, happy birthday, sir. Thank you for being a friend and a watcher. And I like that Glenda Davis knew exactly what was coming. That makes me really happy. Because that makes me really happy that she knew what was happening. Like, that is a viewer. Glenda, thank you. And that's hilarious that you knew that. No. Okay. So we've been doing the candidate interviews. The candidate interviews will be back on tomorrow. We will get back in with the candidate interviews tomorrow, and we'll be underway with that. But for today, ladies and gentlemen, see, Glenda, you're going to have to tell us when that is, or you know what I can do is, now that you said that, I'll just ask Alva when his birthday is, and we'll be able to get you both, because that way you won't be able to hide from me. So I'm going to try to stay up and watch the full episode. Knowledge is power. I don't know who Knowledge is Power is, but I appreciate that. How about just tiptoe through the tulips? Yeah, right. Well, maybe we can do that too. That's we'll see if we can. I don't know who that amazing performer was on that video, but if we can ever get in contact with that person again, we might see. I think in one of the, I think my ex-wife got that wig in the divorce. I don't know. So I'll have to see. It's Wayne Scaife. Look at that. Wayne Scaife. All right. I love it, brother. Knowledge is power. Oh, dude, are you doing a podcast? My God. I need to talk to you. You need to let me know where I can find that. I'm excited. That's very cool. If there's anything I can do to help you, that's cool. I like that. I appreciate that. I see that and I love it. And I think that's amazing. And I want to do whatever we can. Please let me know whatever there is, and I will help you however I can. That's awesome. I want to watch that and see what's going on. I just saw what that little thing is on there. That's awesome, bro. See, I'm telling you, he's gearing up for his run. He's going to run for council and make a real serious difference. Trying to get it started. And yes, I'll need help. Yeah, anything you need, brother, I'll help you out however I can. Point you in the right direction and do whatever we can. I'll help you. It's harder than what people think, but once you get going, you just got to get your legs and get going and make the mistakes and do the things and get going. But it's pretty cool. So I appreciate that. So everybody hear that. He's trying to get a podcast going. And yeah, so we'll have to keep that in mind. Okay. Well, so for the last couple of weeks, I have been hinting at an investigation going on in the city of Muncie. And this investigation has surrounded the Muncie Parks Department, the Muncie Parks and Recreations Department. That's the actual full name. Most people just call it the Muncie Parks Department. But I've been aware of this investigation into the Muncie Parks Department for a couple of weeks now. And I've posted about it on social media. I've talked about it here and posted about it across all of our different platforms. I see Commander 6767. I see you and I know you now. All right, I get it. I love it. Yes. Also, I want to make sure we hit this. And did you say in German, Kate, the DIE is that D or die?
D.
Eisen Ina. Okay, yeah. Mm-hmm. Said David Williams is an honest man. He gets my vote for Delaware County Council District 1. So just FYI, there that is. And yeah, I wanted. I've got a lot of comments from people today, David. Honestly, so just FYI, I wanted to let you know that.
I just put Wayne's YouTube channel up in the comments, so you can click on that link and go to that and subscribe. You got one more, Wayne.
Yeah, well, that's good. That's good. Tim Funk says, where is Catherine Callahan? I thought she was going to be on last week. Yeah, well, so I think there was a mix-up, and I'll blame that on my fault. We've had candidate interviews that I have had, like, pre-scheduled for, like, weeks, and so we were going to do a show. We were going to do a show, and we had a power outage. I think she was going to be on the night of the power outage, and then we were going to skip to the next night. I will get with her. She's been calling. I have just absolutely been swamped. I talked with, I don't want to name the person that I spoke with today, but a person that's closely connected to her. And I told her that I would be getting a hold of Catherine, and we will set that up. I just need to talk to Catherine. Catherine has sent me a couple of things, and we just have not connected. But I will get a hold of her. She's normally does odd hours like I do. I will try to get a hold of her after the show. If I can't, I'll get a hold of her first thing in the morning, and we will get something scheduled here directly. But, okay, so back to the situation. For the last couple of weeks, I've been talking about this investigation into the city of Muncie, specifically the Muncie City Parks situation. And the thing is, with this Muncie City of Parks investigation, if I look back into my social media over the last several years, and this goes back to Muncie Mayor Ridenour's first term in office. I mean, we're talking about going all the way back to April of 2020. I mean, Ridenour took office. Ridenour took office in January of 2020, and just a couple of months into his first year, into 3 months into his very first year, his very first term, 4 months, there was an issue in the Parks Department. And, that doesn't normally bode well for many people, but it's been very strange how the Muncie City Parks Department has handled this thing, because basically the City Parks Department and the Muncie City Mayor's administration suspended 2 employees, ran an investigation through the State Board of Accounts. They then ran a Muncie City, or not Muncie City, but an Indiana State Police investigation was ran. And basically, after the end of like 3 months, nothing came of this. They brought back the employees. Nothing was said. Muncie City councilors actually brought this topic up in meetings, and they were basically said, nothing. There's nothing to see here. It is what it is. That's what it is. And so that's really rather strange. That's how that was handled. And then you jump to December of 2024, which was 2 years ago, and then they fired a parks employee. And there was very little hubbub around that. There was not much communication. That's how the mayor of Muncie runs the majority of his things. Something happens, they say the least amount about a topic, and then they move on, and you're just supposed to say, okay, I'm fine with that. Everything's good. There's no problem. Nothing to see here. Well, back on the 8th, 9th of April, I was told there had been a major issue. The State Board of Accounts was investigating. Again, the state police was investigating. The city of Muncie had terminated another employee, and it was very hush-hush. The State Board of Accounts had came into the city of Muncie. They had ran this investigation, and they had an exit meeting with the city. Non-disclosures were signed, and everybody needed to sign non-disclosures who were involved, and it was really hush-hush. And then I was told that a report would be filed sometime around the end of April, the beginning of May. Then I was told it might be the beginning of June. And as I kept pushing and I kept asking the Ridenour administration to comment on this, please let us know something. Get out ahead of this. Don't let this come out and you guys have not said anything. Well, then magically, as often happens, okay, out of nowhere, the city of Muncie last week, 5 minutes before the end of the day, they release a statement they put this out as a press release on April 16th. This is out on Thursday. And the statement was, a riding hour special, basically. For immediate release, the city of Muncie is responding to a special investigation report issued by the State Board of Accounts regarding operation within the Muncie Parks and Recreation Department. The investigation originated in 2022 when the city leadership identified concerns related to financial processes and immediately took action by notifying the appropriate authorities. The city fully cooperated with both the Indiana State Board of Accounts and the Indiana State Police throughout the course of the investigation. As a result, the city's internal review and subsequent findings, one employee was terminated in December of 2024. That's 2 years after 2022. And it's 4 years after the 2020 original situation in April. Okay. Then we jump forward and we have a situation where a second employee is terminated 2 weeks ago. The report outlines a series of deficiencies and internal controls and financial procedures spanning multiple years. While the actions identified involve individual conduct, the city recognizes the importance of addressing the broader operational issues highlighted in the report. Since the initiation of the investigation, steps have been taken to strengthen oversight, improve financial tracking procedures, and ensure greater accountability within the department. Then it goes on to basically sing Ridenour's praises and say that, this is all because of him and everything that's going on is wonderful. He did all of this and everything's great, everything's wonderful, yada, yada, yada. So I thought that was very interesting. And then at the end of the report, the city of Muncie noted that the State Board of Accounts report would be out within a couple of days. Well, ladies and gentlemen, the State Board of Accounts document is here. We have the document, and it is here, and we are going to go through this document with each and every one of you. A copy of this document is you can get a copy of this document on the in the description of this episode. You just click on the link and you can get it. I will be publishing this document on social media as soon as we're done here, so you will be able to get a copy of this. And you will be able to go through this in your own time, which I think is very important. I think people should be looking about this, talking about this, and we should be asking the mayor about this. This is something that we shouldn't just say, oh, okay, there's nothing else to see here. Everything is good, and then we don't care about it anymore. I don't think it should work that way. I think that we should absolutely concern ourselves with this, and hopefully, we can get to the bottom of this here. Okay. Now I will tell you that just because this State Board of Accounts report is out, okay, just because this is out, this is maybe the end of the line for State Board of Accounts. It, however, is not the end of the line for this situation. What do I mean by that? Well, ladies and gentlemen, I reached out to the Delaware County Prosecutor's Office, and I verified that they do have a copy of this report. The official statement that I received from the prosecutor's office, they did state that there is a copy of this report. They have been issued a copy of this report. I was given an official statement. I was given a copy of the official statement, and the statement is as follows. Late in the afternoon of April 16th, the prosecutor's office received a report from the Indiana State Board of Accounts via email. The prosecutor's office has not had a chance to read it nor speak with the investigators or auditors about the report. At this point, it appears to relate to allegations concerning the unauthorized actions of 2 former Muncie Parks Department's employees. Now that we have received the report, we will review for any evidence of criminal activity. We do not comment on the specifics of pending investigations nor the identity of potential suspects. So that's the pretty standard report from the prosecutor's office. Now, I will tell you that I have talked to sources inside, close to the investigation, inside with the state police, and the state police sources have told me that their part of the investigation is not over yet, that they are still conducting their investigation, and as soon as their investigation is over, they will submit that to the prosecutor's office, but that portion of the investigation is still ongoing, and I don't think that bodes well for people. So we'll just have to wait till they finish that. However, we do have this 35-page report. It's actually 34 pages. It's actually 33 pages because there are 2 blank copies in here, 2 blank pages, as they always do, which is ridiculous. It's actually 32 because we don't even count the first page. So we have 32 pages of report. So we're going to go ahead and get into this. This is the State Board of Accounts special investigation report of the Parks and Recreations Department of the City of Muncie, Delaware County. And the period of time in which this is being investigated is April 13th, 2020 through December 20th, 2024. Okay, so that's kind of where, when you're thinking about all of this, remember that we are dealing with that period of time with the City of Muncie, okay? So scrolling down this, the report was filed on April 16th, 2026, and I think it was made public then on Monday. We're going over this now. So your second page is blank. It goes in table of contents, transmittal letter, results and comments, background, collections not deposited, special investigations cost, crime assurances, insurance, conflict of interest, sponsorships, donations, and non-park related collections, timely deposits, Parks and Recreations Board and Superintendent statutory duties, deficiencies in internal controls, exit conference, official response, summary of charges, affidavit. Okay, so that's that breaks down the table of contents. All right, so this is starting off. To the officials of the City of Muncie, Delaware County, this is a special investigation report for the Parks and Recreations Department, the City of Muncie, for the period of April 13th, 2020 to December 20th, 2024. And in addition to any other report the city is required under Indiana Code 511.1. All reports pertaining to the city may be found at the Indiana State Board of Accounts website at www.in.gov// I always forget which one that is. Anyways, some slash, depending on which way they feel leaning that day. State Board of Accounts, SBoA. So that's where that is. We performed procedures to determine compliance with applicable Indiana laws and uniform compliance guidelines established by the Indiana State Board of Accounts, and were limited to records associated with the Parks Department collections and disbursements of damage deposits. The results and comments contained herein describe the identified reportable instances of non-compliance found as a result of these procedures. Our tests were not designated to designed to identify all instances of non-compliance. Therefore, non-compliance may exist that is unidentified. Okay, that's interesting. Any official response to the results and comments incorporated within this report was not verified for accuracy. I think that's important too, because it's the city of Muncie. Okay, background. On October 6th, 2022, the Indiana State Board of Accounts and the Indiana State Police met with the city mayor, Dan Ridenour, and the city controller, Craig Wright, regarding suspicious invoices and a potential conflict of interest related to the vendor. 2 Parks Department employees, George Foley Jr. and Nikki Erickson, had been placed on paid leave by the city due to the submission of a suspicious invoice and potential conflict of interest as related to the vendor. Foley was hired as a part-time employee at the city's Parks Department on April 13th, 2020. On April 26th, 2021, Foley was appointed to the program director for the Parks Department, working full-time. Erickson began working part-time on August 9th, 2021, and transitioned to a full-time employee for the Parks Department as the secretary on January 24th, 2022. City officials deemed the event as an isolated, unintentional incident that was not purposeful or intentionally wrong. The invoice submitted by Erickson and approved by Foley was never paid by the city, as it was intercepted by the city controller's office. Therefore, no investigation was conducted by the SBoA, and no further action was taken by the Indiana State Police. Okay, that is interesting to me. So that's the first incident. So when I got the notice that city employees were suspended, back when Michelle Owen was the communications director, and I reached out to her, and a bunch of people were mad at me, and they were saying that like I was racist because I put out the names of these 2 people. At the time, I didn't know. I knew of George Foley. I knew who he was. I didn't know who Nikki Erickson was. I had no, other than just knowing the name George Foley, I had no dealings with this individual. Didn't like him, did not like him, didn't know him. It would be the, same as me asking you what your thought is about somebody you had never, ever met before. You know what I mean? You just have no ill will one way or another. No, you just think nothing about a person you don't know. Okay. But when those 2 people went back to work and nothing came of it, I thought that was very odd. So now we find out from this line here, it's because the State Board of Accounts is being told, hey, we as the city see this as a one-time incident. Our internal controls caught this. There's nothing to see here. Everything's good. We're taking these people back. There's no issue. I think that's very interesting. Okay, because obviously now we know something else was going on here. Okay. On February 11th of 2025, the State Board of Accounts returned to the city to review and discuss another incident involving Foley. The Delaware County Juvenile Court runs the Juvenile Detention Alternatives Initiative program. According to the email from Foley, reproduced below, the memorandum of understanding between the Parks Department and the county court pays for T-shirts for summer youth mentor and internship programs through the JDAI program each year. Through this program, the Parks Department employs 100 youth and conducts mentor classes. Foley emailed Wright on December 12th, 2024, requesting the city to reimburse the county court for the JDAI funds that were paid twice in error to a vendor for the T-shirts. Okay, from George Foley to Craig Wright, copied Carl Malone, copy Nikki Erickson, reimbursement to JDAI. Good morning, Craig. I wanted to email about an email that Nikki sent to you yesterday for a $2,000 reimbursement to Delaware County Probation Office, who runs JDAI, that gives us money every year to pay for the T-shirts for the youth internship program. The check always goes to outfitters to pay for T-shirts for youth and staff. JDAI accidentally sent an additional $2,000 to outfitters and were unaware and thought we had credit and always have to replace shirts and used all the credit. JDAI needs reimbursement to get their books right, and we're sending the invoice to reimburse them and continue the partnership. I wanted to give you a heads up on the situation. It is also worded out in the invoice Delaware County Probation Office sent. Thank you, George Foley. In response, Wright contacted the Delaware County Court Treasurer for the prior checks from the 2024 paid from the JDAI program to the city. The county treasurer provided Wright with a check image dated August 22nd, 2024 for $2,000. The check image the county treasurer provided was made payable as follows. City of Muncie Parks Department, 1800 South Grant, George Foley, Muncie, Indiana. So the check was paid to Foley. The check was not paid out to, does not look like the check was paid to outfitters in that situation. That's very interesting. Wright did not find a receipt and deposit for the check in the city's records and bank accounts, which includes the Parks Department funds. Wright followed up with the bank and was able to determine that $2,000 check made payable to the city's Parks Department was cashed by Foley. Wright, during this investigation, had presented the check image to First Merchants Bank at the Madison Street branch. The bank confirmed Foley had cashed the check. The SBoA was provided with a copy of the canceled check by the county auditor. The State Board of Accounts verified the canceled check copy was endorsed by Foley and was stamped with a teller number, TR number, date, time, driver's license number, and FMB. Wright and Matt Wegley, which is the chief deputy controller, met Foley on December 16th, 2024. According to Wright's written notes of the meeting, Foley confirmed that he endorsed the check, but said that he had deposited the check into a city account. Per Wright's written notes regarding the subsequent meetings with Foley, Wright noted that on December 17th, Wright and Patty Goddard, Human Resources Director, met with Foley and Carl Malone, Parks Department Superintendent. Wright showed Foley the check again, asking Foley to explain what happened with the check. Foley stated once again it was deposited. It was during this meeting that Foley was placed on paid administrative leave for the second time. Okay. On December 20th, 24, the city terminated Foley's employment and effective date of December 20th, 24. On January 13th, 2025, Ridenauer contacted the State Board of Accounts regarding the check cashed by Foley. The State Board of Accounts examined the records, and results of our investigation are described in the following comments for the period of April 13th, 2020 through December 20th, 2024. Collections not deposited. The Parks Department has the following types of collections: donations, tournament fees, sponsorships for various programs, including the Summer Youth Mentor Program, the Teen Internship Program, and flag football. TUI Pool, public contracted and private swim fees, concessions, cabin and shelter rentals, including damage deposits, field usage rentals, equipment rentals for park events, Prairie Creek camping and dock rentals, collections maintained by Prairie Creek dedicated staff. And so that's that. Checks issued to Parks Department, intercepted and converted by Foley. The JDAI sponsored Parks Department Summer Youth Mentor and Internship Program. As referred in the comment entitled Background, the county court, through its JDAI program, sponsored the Parks Department Summer Youth Mentor and Internship Program. On May 25th, 2023, the county treasurer issued a check payable to the City Muncie Parks Department, George Foley, for $2,000. Below is the invoice provided to the county treasurer as supporting documentation for the payment of $2,000 grant to the Parks Department. And here we see, okay, we're going to have to blow this up so we can see it. Muncie Parks and Recreation. Okay. We see the invoice date, customer, email, Bill to Mary Addison, JDAI, out at Kilgore. That's out at the YOC. 200 T-shirts for summer youth, $2,000. Total payment due in 30 days. Please include the invoice number on your check. $2,000. Okay. And all of that's here. Make all checks payable to Muncie Parks and Recreation. If you have any questions about the invoice, please contact Nikki Erickson. Okay. So now we'll back this back out so we can see the whole report here. All right. The check image provided by the county treasurer shows the checks cleared the county's bank account on June 20th, 2023, and was endorsed by Foley. The SBoA was not able to validate the $2,000 was deposited to any of the city's bank accounts or receipted by either the city or Parks Department. So you understand what we're saying here, okay? It was paid to the city, and Foley took the check, and Foley cashed the check or deposited the check somewhere. However, that was not deposited into the city's accounts, any of the city's accounts, or any of the parks accounts, okay? So, you know, like this is a pretty common thing that happens in crimes like this. When people do this, this is pretty common thing. Like, you know, he's not reinventing the wheel of crime here. This is what happens. Okay. Through the program, funds were provided to the Parks Department to pay admissions and concessions to a pool for swimming for the JDAI Juvenile Probation Department and or City Police Department sponsored events. Accounts payable vouchers were provided to the SBoA from the county treasurer with invoices attached documenting the dates and events and amounts billed. The check images provided to the State Board of Accounts from county treasurer were reviewed by the SBoA, and the SBoA determined that 4 checks issued for TUI pool admissions and concessions sponsored with JDAI funds were endorsed by Foley as follows. Okay, date of check. We got the dates that range from June 29th, 2021, May 10th, 2023, June 30th, 2023, and June 3rd, 2024. That's the date of the invoice, date of the check. You know, we see over here to the side. Amounts for $2,600, $1,800, $575, $2,000 for a grand total of $6,975. The ISP subpoenaed Foley's personal bank account statement and documents. The ISP, Indiana State Police, provided Foley's personal bank account information and bank statements to the SBoA. The SBoA was able to verify that the first 3 checks listed above, totaling $4,975, were deposited into Foley's personal bank account. The check dated August 22nd, 2024, totaling $2,000, was not deposited by Foley into his personal account. This was a check referenced in the comments entitled Background, where Wright uncovered Foley had endorsed and cashed the check at First Merchants Bank. So you understand what's going on here, okay? Yeah, that's really strange, you know, but listen. Everybody knows how it is when you go in and somebody in a position like this is supposed to check your ID every time or supposed to do something, but you go up to the same teller every time and you guys kind of flirt around and talk, and you know, it's like little cutesy time, and you're just going in and nobody ever suspects anybody's going to do any wrong. You know, that's good old, you know, Bilbrey, or that's good old Foley, or that's good old David or Tom or Robert or Tom, Dick, or Harry. Shit like this happens all the time. That's the reason why, you know, friendships or not, you just always have to have people in places that are going to do their job every time. You know, that's what happens. Things like this happen frequently.
Yeah, but my bank knows me.
Sure.
I can't cash out a check if I endorse it wrong. Like it's written to my legal name and I accidentally sign Kate on the back.
That's crazy. I mean, that's crazy to me. I mean,
it's good. I mean, they make me re-endorse it with my full name.
Yeah.
It's not a big deal.
Yeah.
But it has to match.
Well,
and the check's not written to him. It's written to the city parks department.
It's
not even like you need to check the ID. It's city money. It's supposed to go into the city account.
Yeah, I mean, look, yeah.
I have a problem with that too.
Yeah, I mean, that's a wild situation because what you're saying is absolutely correct. But I mean, crap like this happens all the time. It's amazing how frequently this stuff happens. Summary of JDI sponsored Parks Department Summer Youth Mentor and Internship Program. JDAI sponsored swimming and concessions. The total amount of the checks that fall. Okay, so real quick before we go on, I want to make sure then what we're so the 2,600, the 1,018, the 1,800, and the 575. Those three amounts were deposited into his account. The 2,000 he cashed. Okay, so all right, okay, so all right. Moving on. The total amount of checks that Foley collected but did not deposit into any city bank accounts for the JDAI sponsored Park Department Summer Youth Mentor and Internship Program 2,000 and the JDAI sponsored swim and concessions for 6,975. Totaled $8,975. As the Parks Department Program Director, Foley was also in charge of the parks events, which included arranging for park-owned stages and equipment rentals and setups. Foley would present the park events to Parks and Recreations Board at the monthly Parks and Recreation Board meeting. Those individuals or groups who wanted to schedule an event at the park should have completed an equipment request form. Review of the Parks and Recreations Board meeting minutes showed that Foley never presented an event for Yorktown Chamber of Commerce or Youth Leadership Development. Review of the Parks and Recreation Board minutes also showed that Foley never presented information regarding stage and or park equipment rental for Yorktown Chamber of Commerce or Youth Leadership Development. During the SBoA interview on April 15th, 2025, the Parks and Recreation Board member Mark Irvin said that he never could recall anything coming before the board for events held off-site. Now, I want to say this. First off, it's interesting because Mark Irvin is a Parks Board member, but not only is he the Parks Board member, but he's also the City of Muncie attorney. So he's like in dual roles here. I just find that interesting. Moving on. Malone told the SBoA during an interview on April 15th, 2025, Yorktown, we had to deliver the stage out to Yorktown. For example, they did a series of musicals, let's say 6, and then we have to deliver the stage from our park out to Yorktown. Yorktown paid fees for the use of stage, and they would send that back up. They signed the contract, paid for the stage, and they would have paid the delivery fee. I know they're paying for the stage. I don't know if the delivery fee. Can't recall delivery fee. Malone also said that parks employees did the delivery and would sometimes have to work overtime. The Parks Department could not provide a copy of the contract for Yorktown or equipment rental from Yorktown. The Yorktown Chamber of Commerce provided a text message between Amy Spangler, Yorktown Chamber of Commerce committee leader, and Foley with the following information. March 16th, 2022, 9:02 a.m. Spangler text, hey, George, it's Amy Spangler. Hope all is well. This Friday is our first concert. If you can get the stage out here to Yorktown, we appreciate it. Foley text and reply, we will make sure to get it out to you. May 12th, Foley texts, "Good morning, Amy. Do you know if they're bringing a check today?" Spangler texts in reply, "George, hope all is good. Can we reserve the stage again for next year?" That's weird. She didn't respond to the, "Are you bringing a check?" That's interesting. March 7th, 2024. Spangler texts, "George, hope all's going well. I just wanted to check in and see if we can continue with the use of the stage in exchange for our donation." Foley texts in reply, "Hello, Amy. I'll call you Monday to go over it." The Yorktown Chamber of Commerce provided the following invoice to the State Board of Accounts. The invoice below is a Parks Department invoice, but has the notation, make all checks payable to Tailored Technology, not the Parks Department or the city. Alrighty. Now it starts to get interesting. So here we go. Here is the another copy of the Muncie Parks invoice, where we see the regular things on here. Billed to Yorktown Chamber of Commerce. Funds will be used to purchase T-shirts for summer intern programs. Rental of stage, summer of 2024 for concert series. So see here, this is interesting to me. How many different programs are funding these T-shirts? Now, this is hilarious to me. Make all checks payable to Tailored Technology. I have to wonder, what in the hell is... We're talking about Banks employees. All right, I get it. What's going on with the Banks employees cashing this? What is going on with the person writing the checks for Yorktown Chamber of Commerce, who's looking at a City of Muncie Parks and Recreation invoice, and you get down to the bottom of it, and it says, make all checks payable to Tailored Technology?
Oh, wait,
dude.
It's even better than that. Because the date of this is what?
Date 1/11/24.
Guess what was administratively dissolved in February of 2023?
Tailored Technology?
Yes, sir.
All right. And who is Tailored Technology?
It's registered to George Foley.
Womp, 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 womp. Anybody that's been around Muncie and Delaware County for a long time knows that Tailored Technology is George Foley, or was George Foley. Like, that's when you say George Foley and Tailored Technology, those two things go together. Everybody knows that's the business that he ran. And absolutely. I mean, it's nuts. If you have any question about this invoice, please contact Nikki Erickson. So now you have to wonder, okay, and this is where it then comes to me, and I wonder, way before State Board of Accounts was involved, so did George Foley put this all checks payable to Tailored Technology? Because if so, Nikki Erickson should have been like, wait, who's Tailored Technology? Or was she in on it? You know, obviously she's in on it. We get where we're going here. All right. Copy of the Yorktown invoice with checks payable to Tailored Technology. The certification of organization for Tailored Technology, LLC, that was completed by George W. Foley Jr., filed on August 20th, 2018, with the Indiana Secretary of State, listed Foley as both the registered agent and the chief executive officer. Foley filed a certificate of assumed business name for Tailored Technology, LLC, and transact business under the assumed business name of Tailored Technology, LLC. Tailored Technology, LLC is on social media. Tailored Technology's Facebook page states, "Welcome to Tailored Technol." Surely it doesn't say Technol. Is that a typo, or is that what it really says? We're an Indiana-based web and graphics.
It really says techno.
Does
I'm looking at it right now.
Techno or Technol? Is there an L?
Technol.
Oh, good. That's if I need
Technol.
some technologically based services, and I go to their website, and it says welcome to Acme Technol. I'm probably going to skip that. Jesus. We're an Indiana-based web and graphics design company that loves helping other businesses build their online presence by offering creative solutions. They are getting really creative. Loves helping other businesses build our online presence and offering creative solutions that are innovative and eye-catching. The Indiana State Police subpoenaed bank documents for Taylor Technology account, which indicated Foley as the sole authorized owner on the Taylor Technology LLC bank account as signed by Foley with the effective date of January 22nd, 2018. Check images were included in the ISP subpoenaed Taylor Technology bank documents. 3 of the ISP subpoenaed checks images include checks issued by the Yorktown Chamber of Commerce as follows: Youth Leadership Development 2000, Summer Concert Stage, Muncie Parks 2000, 2024 Stage Rental 2000. So here's another $6,000. So I need to start a total amount here. So what was the other amount? The other amount was the total was down here. $8,975. Okay. And then we've got an extra $6,000 down here. Eye-catching theft. Okay, another $6,000. Handwritten receipts issued, tournament vendor fees, tent, and field rental, Erickson. Okay, now here Erickson is listed. The Parks Department used a carbonless duplicate receipt book for park donations, park equipment rental fees, and other parks collections, with the exception of cabin and shelter rentals collections. Cabin and shelter rentals receipts are not handwritten receipts, but are issued from the park software by entering the reservation information and then printing the receipt. According to Erickson's job description as secretary, she was responsible for receiving receipts and appropriately recording monies for softball fees, cabin rentals, and maintaining daily totals and preparing bank deposit forms. Erickson provided images of the receipts issued from the receipts book for 2022, 23, and 24. There were 57 receipts that indicated collections were received. All but 10 of the receipts that had collections associated with them were signed by Erickson. The State Board of Accounts reviewed and compared the receipts issued to the financial ledgers. There were 22 of the receipts that were posted to the city's ledgers and deposited. Collections recorded on the remaining 35 receipts were not posted to the city's ledgers or deposited. So the remaining 35 were not posted to the city's ledgers or deposited into the city's bank accounts. Of the 35 receipts not posted to the city's ledgers or deposited to the city's bank accounts, 11 were for Parks Department fees, including tournament and vendor fees, and tent and field rentals. The remaining 24 of the 35 receipts were collections for other entities and addressed in the comment titled sponsorships, donations, and non-park related collections. In 2023, a receipt was issued for $100 for a catfish tournament. 2 receipts were issued totaling $90 for tent rentals, and 1 receipt was issued totaling $75 for Thomas Field rental. In 2024, 1 receipt was issued for a $100 tent rental. 4 receipts were issued totaling $1,050 for Gamebridge Field rentals, and 2 receipts were issued totaling $400 for event vendors. The SBoA determined through review of the Parks and Recreation Board minutes and fee schedules that the tent rental fees field rental fees, catfish tournament, and event vendor fees were fees in the Parks Department's charged and should have been recorded in the city ledgers and deposited by Erickson. There were no official approvals by the Parks and Recreation Board of waiver of these fees per review of the Parks and Recreation Board minutes, and no facility and or equipment fee waiver request form could be located at the park. Erickson stated in a September 30th, 2025 email that the collection in 2024 of $325 of the $400 for the event vendor fees was collected by the Parks Department on behalf of Forward Visions. However, the $325 was received from Mr. Mr. T Ice Cream. And in the description line of the receipt was Future Choices Concert Vendor Fee. The 2024 receipt for the remaining $75 of the $400 event vendor fee had on the description of the line Black Expo Vendor Fee. Erickson stated on September 30th, 2025 that this receipt was collected on behalf of Muncie Black Expo, not our funds. The general regulations and reservations for the public park for exclusive use for special events, tournaments, and other large gatherings, which is posted on the Parks Department's website, states the following under the vendors heading. Vendors' fees of $25 per vendor are to be collected by the event organizers and delivered to the Parks Department office located at 1800 South Grant. Along with the appropriate fees, the organizer shall provide a list of vendors that includes the business names, the contact information. The fee covers only the listed event location and is not good for other times or locations. The total of the handwritten receipts issued by Erickson for parks collections and tournament fees, vendor fees, and tent rentals and field rentals were not recorded in the city's ledgers and deposited to the city bank accounts totaled $1,815 as follows. And then they have it broken down to $1,815 in 2023 and 2024, $265 in 23 and $1,550 in 24. Cabin and shelter rentals, Erickson. The State Board of Accounts determined that Erickson was solely responsible for collecting rental fees and the associated damages, deposits, and for all cabins, shelters for Heakin Park, McCullough Park, Westside Park, Halteman Park, Toohey Park, Ball Corporation Park. Erickson received collections from rentals, recorded and rental reservations in the park cabin tracking software for issuing receipts and documenting the reservations of cabins and shelters. Erickson could open, deposit, and cash collections into the city's bank accounts, record the collections as city-issued batch receipts into the city's financial records or ledgers, taking copies of the deposit slip, the cabin tracking reports, and the report of city batch receipts from the city's New World financial software to the city controller's office. The State Board of Accounts interviewed Malone along with other city officials on February 11th, 2025. During the interview, Malone stated that the Parks Department only collected cash for cabins, shelters, no checks or credit cards. That's interesting. The Parks Department cabin tracking software allowed Erickson to select a particular park cabin or shelter and enter the date of the reservation. The fee, including the damage deposit amount, would be automatically applied by the computer software and entered onto a page containing 2 computer-generated receipts for issuance to the renter. However, the cabin tracking software allowed the user to override the automatically applied fees with a different amount, including zeros. Included on each of the receipts were dates of the receipt, where the collections and the reservation date, along with the rules and regulations and the instructions of the return and damage deposit. The receipts could be reprinted at any time with the same information. G. Chadwick, do you have an ability to send me a message and like we could talk like off air? Like I could get a hold of you this evening, or you could get a hold of you tomorrow, because I can give you some information on that. But it'd probably be better for me to do that. We can do that like off air would probably be better. Okay, moving on. Okay. Reports can also be generated from the cabin tracking software and the cabin shelter fees collected with receipt numbers and dates called the received fee report. Reports can also be generated from cabin tracking software of the cabin and shelter damage deposit receipts called received deposit report. Below is a State Board of Accounts redacted example of one page of the received fee report, which includes the receipt for the fee collected illustrated above, and the State Board of Accounts highlighted unredacted names illustrating the receipts issued with 0 collected fees for the city employees and Parks Department events. Okay, so what this does here is this shows you where, like, for example, interestingly enough, this is interesting to me. We have George Foley, who has rented a cabin. We have do not rent, whatever that means. We have Barbara Malone. You know, I don't know who Barbara Malone is. I know that's not Carl's wife, unless she goes by a different name at some point. Yeah, we'll pause this for a second. If you want to send me that list, you can send it to. Can you put the email up there? You can either send it to my email or you can text it to me. Whatever. There's my email. That you can send this. Are you guys related, Kate? Are you messaging me something? Messages. Stand by. Interesting. Yeah, I don't know. That's interesting. Yeah, we'll take a look at that. Yeah, shoot me an email there, Chadwick, and we'll see what we can do. Should be fun. I'll be your Huckleberry. All right, here we go. So there's the situation with this deal with the Parks Board, and immediately, like, they pull up a sheet and it's got like Nikki Erickson's on here, George Foley's on here. I would assume, maybe this is my assumption, I shouldn't do this, but I would assume that's some relation to Carl. All right, well, it is what it is. All right, moving on. After the event date, if either renter returns to the Parks Department with their damage deposit receipt, Erickson would either assist the renter or Erickson would complete the for damage deposit reimbursement only form, damage deposit reimbursement form. Erickson would later complete the top portion of the damage deposit reimbursement form, which includes a vendor number, batch number, pay date, and GL. The SBoA made detailed comparisons of the receipted collections per the received fee report and the received deposit report as provided to the State Board of Accounts by the city's IT administrator and the actual receipts signed by the renters to the city's accounting ledgers of receipts, city batch receipts, and deposits to the city bank's accounts. State Board of Accounts determined the collections were not deposited for cabin or shelter rental fees and damage deposit totaling $4,000. All right. State Board of Accounts determined collections were not deposited for cabin and shelter rental fees and damage deposits totaling $4,681.10. Damage deposit reimbursement forms were also reviewed by the State Board of Accounts and compared to checks issued by renters for return of damage deposit after event. The SBoA determined that $2,343.30 of the $4,681.10 not deposited into city bank accounts were refunded by the city to renters. Okay, so this is how they break this down. 2023, rental fees not deposited, $652.70. Damage deposits not deposited, $560 for a grand total of $1,212.70. And in 2024, it was a grand total of $3,468.40 for a grand total of $4,681.10. Summary: collections not deposited. The following schedule summarizes all of TUI pool fees and concessions equipment rentals for park events and cabin and shelter. I cannot say that word when it comes up. Shelter rental. That's really hard. Shelter rental for both Foley and Erickson. George Foley, former program director, JDAI sponsored Parks Department Summer Youth Mentor and Internship Program. So that's $2,000. Okay. JDAI payments for sponsored swimming and concessions, $6,975. And then other park events and equipment rentals, checks payable to Tailored Technology, $6,000. Total collections not deposited Foley is well, I can't. Yeah, Chadwick. I can't help you in the middle of a show where I'm live and I'm on page 12 of 35 pages. So, like, yeah, that's not something that anybody's going to be able to help you with now. So, if you can wait until after the program, which will be in about an hour, I can email you afterwards. And if you can't, I'm sure there's plenty of other podcasts that can help you. That's no big deal. And so it's just up to you. If you want to email me your shit and I can talk to you afterwards, I'm cool. And if not, I'm cool with that too. So either way, if you haven't noticed, I'm in the middle of a show. I mean, what in the hell? All right. So a grand total from George Foley that they are claiming they're alleging that he took is $14,975.00. Then for Nikki Erickson, the secretary, the grand total, holy crap. Oh, okay. The grand total they're saying that she took was $6,496.10. And if you add all of that together, that comes up to $21,471.10. So that's the total there of what the alleged two of these people have apparently taken from the Parks Department. Okay. We then come down to the Indiana law here. The criteria for the law, Indiana 5.1361 states in part, except as provided in subsections D and G. All local officers except township trustees who collect public funds of their respective political subdivisions shall deposit funds no later than the business day following the receipt of the funds of the business day of the depository, in the depository of the depository selected by several local boards of finance that have jurisdictions of the funds. The public funds collected by township trustees shall be deposited in the designated depository or on or before the 1st or the 15th day of each month. Public funds deposited under this subsection shall be deposited in the same form in which they were received. The following are not required to deposit funds on the business days following receipt if funds on hand do not exceed $500. An office of the legislative branch of state government, a local officer of the political subdivision required to deposit funds under subsection C other than township trustee, a city or town required to deposit funds under subsection D. However, the funds on hand must be deposited not later than the business day following the day that the funds exceeded $500. Tickets, goods for sales, billings, and other collections are considered accountable items for which a corresponding deposit must be made in the bank accounts of the unit. The deposit ticket and attached documentation must provide detailed listing of the deposit, which includes at a minimum check numbers and corresponding names of the payers. And so that is that. So that's how we can go there. So that's the law, and we have seen other people here in Delaware County be charged with crimes like this. I can think of John Doerr was in trouble for doing things like this. We've seen other people come close to getting in trouble for things like this. It's very interesting. Okay, special investigation costs. The state of Indiana incurred cost in the amount of $21,453.17 due to the special investigations into the Parks Department. The investigation involved the following: interviews of the Parks Department personnel, city officials, city controller's department staff, and the Parks Department board members. Review of 144 subpoenaed bank statements and canceled check images. Review of the Parks Department minutes, which included contracts and park events. Comparisons of receipted collections to city ledgers, batch receipts, and deposited tickets. Review of supporting documents for 1,306 cabins and shelter rentals and damage deposits. Inspection of office space records maintained by Foley and in-park office file cabinets. Criteria. Indiana Code 511-121 states if the Attorney General institutes a civil proceedings related to this section, the Attorney General shall seek, in addition to the recovery of any funds misappropriated, diverted, or unaccounted for, restitution, costs incurred by the State Board of Accounts, which to me is kind of crazy to me that these people can be at work getting paid for being at work, but then if they're doing a special investigation, they can charge more. Like that seems backwards to me, but it's the government, so what the hey, you know? Okay, let's continue on down here. We requested Foley reimburse the state of Indiana for the special investigation. Okay, hey, I'm down with that. I'm fine with that. So they're not getting this from the city of Muncie. They're asking this from they're asking, yeah, right? That's nuts. They are asking this from Foley and Erickson. So I can deal with that. We requested Foley reimburse the state of Indiana for the special investigations, the cost in the amount of $14,962.49. We requested Erickson reimburse the state of Indiana for the special investigation cost in the amount of $6,490.68. The following crime insurance was provided by the city from 1/1/21 to 1/1/22. Is that 100,000? From 1/1/22 to 1/1/23, 100,000 from 1/1/23 to 1/1/24, 100,000, and from 1/1/24 to 1/1/25, 100,000. Interesting. Conflict of interest. Foley, as an appointed official, was a public servant for purposes of Indiana Code 3541.52-261. Since Foley's employment by the city on April 13th, 2020, and continuing through December 20th, 2024, the date of Foley's termination, Foley submitted 22 invoices to the city of Muncie on behalf of his company. His company, Tailored Technology, received... You hear that thunder? That's good sounding. I love it. Hopefully it's doing that when I'm going to sleep. $12,403.75. Okay, so during the time period in which Foley worked for the city of Muncie, he submitted 22 invoices to the city of Muncie on behalf of his company. His company, Tailored Technology, LLC, received $12,403.75 from 22 separate invoices. The State Board of Accounts requested contracts from Erickson, but none of these invoices had contracts related to them. So let me get this straight. Where did this get paid? When was this discussed? Is this Board of Works shit? Is this Board of Works? Is this Board of Works? Like, were these invoices submitted and the Board of, because if the Board of Works is responsible for this and they voted, because I'll be honest, I've never heard them ever question Tailored Technology in any Board of Works video I've ever watched meeting. This is something that they should have been catching. Maybe we should have not paid 22 of these. Maybe we should have questioned this on invoice 1 or 2. So tomorrow, I guess I'll be sending Craig an email asking him, of these 22 invoices that were submitted by Tailored Technology, where did these go, and what was the board? Did the Parks Board sign off on this? Or was, because I don't think they would. I don't know that they take care of claims. They just had a meeting tonight. And if the Board of Works is dealing with this, I've got a real problem. I've got a really big problem with that. There were 15 invoices totaling $9,000 that were for social media marketing work at the sanitary district, with the remaining $7,000 for banners, door hangers, tablecloths, and business cards design and printing, totaling $3,403.75. The sanitary district administrator provided the 3 screenshots to the State Board of Accounts of posts that Foley made on the sanitary district Facebook page in 2020. The district administrator was not aware that the sanitary district had an Instagram account. A conflict of interest disclosure was not submitted by Foley to the State Board of Accounts and to the Clerk of Circuit Court in regard to these transactions with Tailored Technology. Under these facts and in absence of a written contract, the State Board of Accounts would have expected to receive fully completed and executed conflict of interest disclosure statements regarding the $12,403.75 payments to be submitted and accepted at a public meeting from Foley, filed within 15 days of final action on the contract's purchase. I'm telling you, and you know what? Tomorrow is Wednesday. I might just have to go to the Board of Works and talk with them about this and find out what their thoughts are on this, because this is very bothersome. This is, Board of Works is ultimately responsible for this little theft. Do you want me to be perfectly honest? I think they're responsible for a lot of theft. If you want to be real frank, I don't think they're responsible for a little theft. I think there's a lot of this that goes on. This just happened to have been caught. Total Madness says, what about the invoices that Dustin Clark submitted? Well, the State Board of Accounts smacked Dustin's hand and Dan's hand when he was doing this same bullshit. And so the way they got around it was Dustin just quit working for the city of Muncie, and then he got hired back doing the same shit as a contract employee. This is the stuff, ladies and gentlemen, that let me see over the good things that Dan is doing, because to me, this is the same as Dennis Tyler. This is no different. This is worse than Dennis Tyler, if you want to be perfectly honest. In my opinion, this is worse than Dennis Tyler. Okay. Forward Visions, Inc. Business entity reports filed with the Indiana Secretary of State's website for the years covering 2019 through 2026 reported that Foley was the vice president of the domestic nonprofit corporation Forward Visions. Between 2021 and 2024, Forward Visions received $29,500 from the city for invoiced co-sponsorships and co-partnerships of Black Music Month celebrations and Concert from the Parks series. As a part of the Parks program, the State Board of Accounts requested contracts for the events from Wright, Erickson, and Malone, but no one was able to provide any contracts or agreements with Forward Visions. All of the Board of Works members must be booted out the door. I think Craig Wright needs to be booted out of his office. I think you send Shireen Wagley's husband packing. And in my opinion, they need to collect Dustin on their way out. And if they've got room in their shitmobile, they could take Dan too. This is ridiculous. Carl Malone needs to go. The fact that Carl Malone has been in this report the way he has been, kind of just meandering in, acting all cool, like he doesn't know what's happening, they need to take him too. This is all gross to me. This is crazy. I've said this like so much in the last 3 weeks. This alone should beat Dan in the next election. This alone should beat Dan in the next election. The Crisis Center alone should beat Dan in the next election. Prairie Creek should beat Dan in the next election. Totally crazy. A conflict of interest. Right. Absolutely. Between 2021 2024, okay, we're at that. Conflict of interest disclosure was not submitted to Foley, to the State Board of Accounts, and the Clerk of the Courts regarding transactions with Forward Visions. Under these facts, and in absence of a written contract, the State Board of Accounts would have expected to receive fully completed and executed conflict of interest disclosure statements regarding $29,500 in payments from Foley, filed within 15 days of final action on the contracts or purchases. Disclosure by Foley. During the course of this investigation, the State Board of Accounts learned an internal process was in place during the period of time relevant to the transactions described above. In this regard, the city had implemented use of its own internal control of interest disclosure forms and had implemented its own internal review of the same through the city's personnel department. The State Board of Accounts received copies of the internal disclosures that Foley submitted for 2021, 2022, 2023. In 21 and 22, Foley did not identify any specific purchase the city made concerning services he provided through his related entities, nor did he disclose his relationship with those entities, Tailored Technologies, LLC, and Forward Visions. In 2023, Foley did not identify specific purchases the city made concerning his services he provided through his related entities. However, he did identify a relationship with Tailored Technologies, LLC, but his relationship with Forward Visions was not disclosed. Again, to me, this doesn't look good on more people than just Foley. There should be more people that have issue with this, that take issue with this. This is not a good situation with more people than just Dan. Or just George, I mean. This should also affect Dan. This should also affect the Board of Works. This should also affect Craig Wright. This should also affect all of these people. I don't understand it. Conflict of interest. We don't even need to go over that. We went over it. You know, it sets forth the offense. A public servant who knowingly or intentionally has a pecuniary interest in or derives a profit from a contract or purchase connected to an action by the government entity served by a public servant commits a conflict of interest, a level 6 felony. I mean, look, this is going to be a serious issue. There are going to be several related felonies in connection to this situation. And again, I think there are more people at fault here than just George and Nikki. This looks bad on the city of Muncie. This looks really, really bad. Let's see. Conflict of interest disclosures must be completed using the COI form available on Gateway. It's the duty of the public servant to ensure that a fully completed disclosure is uploaded on Gateway and meets the required provisions. The attorney for the unit or private attorney must be consulted regarding to whether a conflict of interest disclosure statement must be filed and whether the format of the disclosure is sufficient. Payments made or received for contractual services must be supported by a written contract. Each unit is responsible for complying with the provisions of its contracts. Sponsorships, donations, and non-park related collections. Staff at the Parks Department office did not issue receipts or collections of sponsorships and donations as required by state statute and uniform compliance guidelines. The fees collected for sponsorships were not approved by the Parks and Recreation Board. Sponsorships and donations were recorded in the Parks and Recreation Fund for teen internship programs, swim programs, and the NFL flag football. Minutes from the May 16th, 2023 meeting indicated that Foley reported the Parks Recreation Board that 8 sponsors contributed $250 each as gold sponsors for the Flag Football League. The State Board of Accounts did not find receipts issued at the Parks Department office for the sponsorship receipts for any of the donations recorded in the city's ledgers. However, the city's ledgers indicated that the collection station at the Parks Department as the Parks Department. Furthermore, the State Board of Accounts did not find where the Parks and Recreation Board approved the sponsorship and the sponsor fees and the amounts, instead leaving it up to Malone and Foley. To Malone and Foley. Malone and Foley. You get it? We got it? We get it? Why does Malone still have a job here? I looked at him on the Parks Board meeting tonight. Why is Malone still employed by the city of Muncie? Yeah, absolutely, Kate. 110%. Parks and Recreation Board minutes from February 21st, 2023 stated the following regarding the NFL flag football program and fees. Per Foley's report on the Parks programs, there is one change we would like to make after talking with others, which is waiving the fee of $35 per child for this year due to the economy right now. We would like to get sponsors to sponsor a team starting at $250, which will cover uniforms and help promote their business. Brad asked if there were any other questions or concerns about the flag football program. There were none. He stated he would entertain a motion that Carl Malone and George Foley use their best judgment regarding the cost and approving not charging this year. But if the numbers show there needs to be some charge in there, he's okay with that. He would entertain a motion that George move forward, and if there is a fee, it be no more than $35. A motion was made, and it was approved. Non-park related collections. Receipts were issued for collections that were not recorded in the city's ledgers and were not deposited. Interviews and minutes from the Parks and Recreation Board meetings indicated that money was collected for other agencies, not for the Parks Department. 3 parks receipts for $300 each were issued by Erickson for an adult softball league, which were not recorded in the city's ledgers. In the minutes for the May 16th, 2023 Parks and Recreation Board meeting, Foley stated, I've been working with Casey Bell, the fire department, and we will start on June 11th, and it will go until August 13th. All of their games will be played on Sundays, so they won't interfere with us doing programming or with the travel teams playing on the field. We're going to do 10 teams at $300 each. Each team will cover the referees for the day and provide their own softballs. The funds paid will go to the foundation. They will pay the National Softball Association rules and will have coaches meetings to discuss respect of the field and the rules. We've already signed up 5 teams and plan on doing 10. If all goes well with the league, we may have a fall league and possibly a co-ed team and a church league. That's a good investment for the parks and gives people activities to do at Cambridge. The money we get from that, we would like to put into the foundations to build it up and help cover the cost for materials and supplies. Per the minutes, it was not indicated that the Park and Recreation Board had authorized the collection of sponsorship funds or the collections from the Adult Softball League being donated to the foundation. No other collections for the Adult Softball League were recorded in either the Parks Department receipts or the city ledgers. The State Board of Accounts could not determine if the foundation collected the funds directly or if the $900 collected by the Parks Department were given to the foundation. They could not determine that. They just couldn't determine it. The State Board of Accounts determined that 18 receipts issued in 2022 were for soccer registration fees of $20. The 18 receipts associated with soccer registration collections were not posted to the city's financial ledgers. Erickson explained on September 4th, 2025 that the soccer fee collections were for the Friends of Conley soccer registration. Erickson stated on September 4th, we wouldn't have any deposit entries with the controller as the funds were not collected for us. Review of the Parks and Recreation Boards from March 15th, 2022 included Foley's presented information on various upcoming parks programs. Youth soccer was addressed as follows. Youth soccer, Friends of Conley, is having signups for their summer session. They are accepting application for payment on Tuesday and Thursdays from 4:30 to 6 in Cabin 5 at Heacon Park. If Friends of Conley were accepting applications and payments, the State Board of Accounts could not determine why the Parks Department receipt would be issued for non-park related collections. 3 receipts were issued to Erickson from the Parks Department receipt book. 2 of the 3 receipts were for $30 each, with wording of NAACP, the NAACP membership, and the 3rd receipt issued to Erickson indicating it was roof replacement for $8,100 cash. On October 15th, 2025, the State Board of Accounts asked Erickson about the receipt she issued to herself for $8,100 for a roof replacement. The State Board of Accounts asked Erickson if it was park roof that was replaced. Erickson stated that the State Board of Accounts asked Erickson if it was the park roof that was replaced. Erickson stated that she had her roof replaced at her house. She paid the contractor cash. The contractor did not have a receipt book to issue Erickson a receipt for the cash payment. So Erickson used the park receipt to document the cash payment she made to the contractor. What in the hell does that mean? Why would you not write it down on a piece of paper? Why would you ever mix that up? That is total insanity. That is totally insane. There shall be kept in the office of each public officer, board, commission, agency, instrumentality, and institution of this state a record of money collected for the public treasury, the forms and records for which each class of office shall be devised and formulated by the State Board of Accounts. Such records as are provided in this section shall be public records and must be accessible to the public during regular office hours. A park is a park and recreation facility, and programs shall be made available to the public free of charge as far as possible. However, if it is necessary in order to provide a particular activity, the board may charge a reasonable fee. The unit's fiscal body may establish by ordinance upon request of the board a special non-reverting operating fund for the park purposes from which expenditures may be made as provided by ordinance, either by appropriation or for the board or by the unit's fiscal body. Money procured from fees or received from the sale of surplus property under Section 12 of this chapter shall be deposited at least once each month with the fiscal officer of the unit. The board may accept gifts, donations, and subsidies for the park and recreation purposes. However, a gift or transfer of property on the board may not be made without its approval. A gift or grant of money shall be deposited in a special non-reverting fund to be available for expenditures by the board or for purposes specified by the grantor. Disbursing officer of the unit may draw warrants against the fund only upon vouchers signed by the president and secretary of the board. Tickets, goods, sales, building, and other collections are considered accountable items for which corresponding deposits must be made in the bank accounts of the unit. The deposit ticket or attached documentation must provide a detailed listing of deposits, which include a minimum check numbers and corresponding names of the payers. Public funds cannot be donated or given to other organizations or individuals unless specific authorized by law. Fees can only be collected as specifically authorized by law or properly or authorized ordinance resolution. When a fee is not specified by law, but instead by ordinance or resolution, sufficient authoritative reference should be maintained. Timely deposits. The State Board of Accounts observed collections in excess of $500 held beyond the following business day prior to deposit. For example, Erickson collected $807.10 on January 2nd, 2024, but the collections were not deposited until January 19th or 17 days after being receipted. Accumulated collections receipts from January 18th through January 29th, totaling $593.10, were not deposited until February 2nd, after another $53.50 was collected on January 30th. January 29th, 2024 was a Monday, with February 2nd, 2024 being a Friday. Collections received on September 16th, 2024, totaling $726.85 were not deposited until October 1st, 2024, with additional collections totaling $1,603 received from September 17th through the September 30th, for a total of $2,329.85. The deposit of the initial collections totaling $762.85 from September 16th, 2024 was made 15 days after the date the collections exceeded $500. And then it talks about that. Parks and Recreation Board and Superintendent statutory duties. This is where it gets interesting to me. Ordinance establishing the Parks and Recreation Board. Background per the city's Code of Ordinances. They created a city parks board, with powers and duties and responsibilities also delegated by Indiana Code. Fees. The State Board of Accounts reviewed that the collections park issued receipts, deposit tickets, and the city's ledgers indicated fees are being collected for cabin and facility rentals, equipment rentals, swimming or pool admissions, field usage, sponsorships of teams or sports such as NFL flag football. The fees collected are receipted into the Parks and Recreation Fund as reported on the financial statements submitted to the SBoA for audit. On the city's ledger, the funds named Park Non-Reverting, a non-reverting park operating fund. Fees for cabin rentals, damage deposits in the cabins, boating, fishing, shelter rentals at Prairie Creek, and for swimming are documented in the city's Parks Department website. But the SBoA did not find any ordinances or resolutions establishing those fees. Furthermore, the State Board of Accounts did not find any fee schedules or forms addressing fees charged for field usage. On the Parks Department website, there is a link into a parks use form. It is an 8-page document that includes general regulations for the reservation of public park for exclusive use, for special events, tournaments, and other large gatherings, which include the following. Generally, the use of park facilities is open to public fee free of charge. Small event, $25 per event. Large event, $50 per day. Refundable damage deposit of $200, application for special use permit, agreement for use of city park property, application for special use permit, equipment fee list, facilities and or equipment fee waiver request form. The SBoA reviewed the Parks and Recreation Board minutes from January 2020 through November of 2024. The minutes documented events that fully reported that fees were being waived for entities such as Forward Visions, Destiny Christian Center, Indiana Black Expo, Haldeman Village Neighborhood Association, with The Parks and Recreation Board approving the events. The SBoA requested the application for special use permits and the facility and or equipment fee waiver request forms for these and other events. Neither Malone nor Erickson could locate them, with the exception of the 2025 forms, which were pinned to the park office wall dividers near Erickson's desk. The SBoA looked for other documents in Foley's office, the General Parks and Recreation Department office, and in a file cabinet. The only documents and forms related to park events and activities located were as follows, excluding the 2025 forms. Outdoor facility request form for Heacon Park baseball, softball, April to July 2022. Group, the Barn Academy, no fees noted. Baseball, softball field rental applications for mid-March to June. Date on the form September 5th, 2024. Indiana Rampage basketball. Baseball, softball field rental application and agreement for workouts, including players, 25 games, including 50 to 100 players. Date on the form September 4th, 2024. Indiana Rampage basketball. An attachment for approvals and costs, which is not completed, and usage procedures, rules, and rates. 2023 Muncie Parks Recreation Baseball Softball League with Objective provided a low-cost baseball and softball league for the city of Muncie and the surrounding areas. Fees listed including games, expenses, equipment costs, etc. Applications for special use permits. Day of Remembrance, September 24th, 2022. Haldeman Village Neighborhood Association, August 19th. Muncie Southside Neighborhood Association, August 27th, 2024. American Hometown Bank of Muncie, July 11th, 18th, 20th, and August 15th. Cheesebox Reunion Committee, Industrial Development Neighborhood Association, North Haven, Belgarth, Delaware County Extension Master Gardener Association, agreement for the use of city parks property, and then just a bunch of these different things. Okay, you can go on here and you can read these things if you are interested in what these things are. In 2024, 16% of all cabin and shelter rentals were provided for free. What? Well, what are we doing? Maybe we need to decide if we're just not going to charge for anything, or we need to start charging for everything. I don't understand it. 16% of all cabin and shelter rentals were provided for free to the Parks Department and city employees. The majority of these people using this shit are city employees. Another 7.89% of all cabin and shelter rentals were provided for free for individuals that the State Board of Accounts did not find on the 2024 certified report the names, addresses, duties, and compensation of public employees form that the city uploaded to the Indiana Gateway or Government Financial Reporting System. Providing free rentals of facilities would be considered an employee benefit, requiring a policy adopted by the governing board. They're all messing up here. Everybody's messing up. The park board is messing up. Carl Malone is messing up. Dan needs to get rid of the park board and replace the park board. Dan needs to get rid of Carl Malone. The city of Muncie needs to get rid of Dan. What is happening here? Listen, when I was told by my original source that this report was ugly, and what was the word that was used? Something bad. It was atrocious or something like that. Awful, horrible, disgusting. Every bit of that is true. Every bit of that is true. On April 15th, the State Board of Accounts conducted interviews with the Parks and Recreation board members, Irvin and Shannon Powers, and Malone and Erickson. Following information was communicated during those interviews. State Board of Accounts asked Irvin about specific guidelines on who is exempt from paying cabin and shelter rental fees. Irvin said, I think through the Parks Department, those should be available, and I think they're on the website. I know the Parks Department has the fee schedule, and the rules have been approved by the Parks Board, so it's on the fee schedule. There can be exceptions, but we have really limited it, the exceptions. It used to be that it was very loosely enforced, if at all, and now there should be a clear understanding. I think when we approve most activities, now there should be a fee charge for the facility, and that they want, and there should be an accounting of that goes through the Parks Department. It used to be more loose. Sounds like it's just always been loose. After changing topics during the interview, the State Board of Accounts asked if Irvin knew anything about the parks employees getting rentals, whether it be for cabins or for equipment for free, or if he was aware of any policies regarding employees getting facilities and equipment for free. Irvin had this to say: I do not know of any rules. Well, again, to me, it's kind of, it depends. If it's for an event that we've approved, that would be one thing. If it's for something we don't know about or have no knowledge of or have not approved, that would be totally different thing. When you say a park employee getting something for free, if it was part of an officially approved event, well, that was being on park property and we waived a fee, then I guess you could say that would be for free. But that should always come to the Parks Board for approval. So as a part of the exempt organization's policy, like park employees aren't exempt from a cabin rental or shelter rental or equipment rental. Right. They might not be exempt, but if they're just getting it exempt, if they're never having to pay for it, then it's just known that they are exempt. All right. Mark, that's ridiculous. Mark knows better than what he's saying there. He's an attorney, and that's ridiculous what he's saying. Okay. Keep in mind, Mark is not just a Parks Board member. He's also an attorney representing the city of Muncie. I have a big issue of him in that position. To me, I think that is a conflict of interest, not a conflict of interest in the same way that, he's receiving dual money for, whatever. I don't like the fact that he is, when he's speaking, is he speaking as a Park Board member or is he speaking as an attorney for the city of Muncie? And there's going to be times where they're going to say, well, he's speaking as both. And I'm sorry, but I have a problem with that. The State Board of Accounts asked Powers about the cabin rentals, and if Powers could recall anyone talking about letting employees get free cabin rentals. Powers stated, we've never talked about that. It's never been brought up at Parks Board meetings. If somebody was using it for free, it was never asked of us. If they could rent it for free, and usually while they have to, they're supposed to bring a list of somebody once they rent a cabin, you have to bring it in front of the board. The State Board of Accounts asked Malone if there was a policy regarding employees using cabins and shelters for free of charge. Malone replied, I don't know about the policy being free, but I do know that when we started it and I came on, I kind of asked the office at the time about it, and they allow for employees. I think it was 2 opportunities throughout the year to be able to rent a space or whatever, birthday party or whatever, and they have going on that makes sense. Sorry. Yes. There we go. We can take that banner down. That was probably my fault since we're reading here. I should have done that. I wish someone would have said that earlier. Maybe you did and I just didn't see it. I apologize. Okay. State Board of Accounts asked Erickson about the cabin and shelter rentals. Erickson stated, when I started, not to cut you, I was told that parks employees do not pay for cabins, that city employees pay the rental fees and not the damage deposit. So that's the employee pay the rentals, but not the damage deposit, because the damage deposit is refundable. So they figure we'll keep the rental fee because that's when he doesn't go anywhere, instead of having them pay the damage deposit and not the rental, because the damage deposit be getting back and we didn't make any money on it. I guess so. At that time, it was unlimited. It was perhaps they were told that there was a limit. The State Board of Accounts asked Erickson if, to her knowledge, that it was still the policy. Erickson stated, park employees don't pay and city employees pay the rental, but not the damage. The State Board of Accounts asked Erickson if she remembered a time in one of the Parks and Recreation Board meetings that this was discussed. Erickson stated, I literally came on and was told that's what it was. That's been that way for up to 200 years. And I was like, okay, past practice. That's just how we've always done it. And I was like, okay. And then it talks about the rules that the board should make and what they should do and what they shouldn't do. And it talks about the superintendent and what the superintendent's rules are. Fees can only be collected as specified, authorized by law. Is that still okay? Ordinance when a fee is not specified by law, but instead by an ordinance, authoritative reference should be maintained. And then of course it's talking about compensation and benefits paid to officials and employees must be included in labor contract. And of course it's not, because this is just a weird, it's just like, well, let's just give them whatever they want. They work here. They're good. Everything's good. It's nuts. Deficiencies in internal controls. This is good too. Deficiencies were noted in the internal control system as related to the receipts and disbursements. Control activities and segregation of duties. Duties were not segregated between booking events, billing for related fees or events, and the collection of fees. Foley was solely responsible for setting up and operating park events, including approving equipment requests and rentals for the park's events and coordinating with park staff for the delivery of park equipment, presenting the events to the Parks and Recreation Board, and invoicing the park's patrons for related equipment and rental fees. On April 15th, 2025, the State Board of Accounts asked Erickson about invoices, bills Foley sent to the park patrons for equipment rentals. Erickson stated that the park bill was a Word document on her computer that she would send to Foley to send to people. Foley was also responsible for field usage and for TUI pool events, both scheduling and billings. While the YMCA managed the pool in 2023 and 2024, Foley would schedule and notify the YMCA of the dates for private events and would complete the billing for the events. Erickson stated in an interview on April 15, 2025, that mail could be picked up by any of the staff working in the office, since the mailbox is just outside the office. Typically, the mail would be placed on Erickson's desk. If something was specifically addressed for Malone or Foley, Erickson did not open that mail, but provided an unopened mail directly to whomever it was addressed. The Parks Department developed invoice or bill for the rental fees. The field usage and pool events were not pre-numbered, and there was not a documented or review of counting or rental field usage or pool event billings and the related receipts of the bill of billed fees. There was not a documented review of the applications for special use permit, agreements of the use of city property. Erickson was solely responsible for the collection of the cabin and shelter fees and deposit of those fees, as well as processing cabin shelter damage deposit funds. When cabin and shelter rentals returned and complete their damage deposit reimbursement form, Erickson would receive the form from the renter, sometimes completing part of the form, such as the address, and then enter the refund information in the New World system, the city's accounting system. According to Wagley, on September 16th, 2025, the Parks Office, usually Nicolene Erickson, enters the refund into the New World like a batch, like any other invoice. Wagley also stated that the batch number, pay date, and GI number are entered by Nikki when she creates the AP batch. There was no documented reconciliation between the reservation entered into the park cabin tracking software and the amount deposited by Erickson. Any approvals for vendors' funds are through the New World system after Erickson's entries, which are not validated into the collections for damage deposits. Erickson collected funds for park events and other miscellaneous park fees. The arborist license, and donations. Erickson was responsible for completing the handwritten park receipts, completing the deposit tickets, depositing the collections into the city bank account, and entering the receipts into the New World system. Upon completion, Erickson was responsible for taking copies of the receipts, copies of any customer checks. If the customer paid by check, the copies of the batch reports to the controller's office. Change of controls. According to the IT administrator on February 27th, 2025, email, the park cabin tracking software isn't designed to allow the receipt number to be changed. The IT administrator explained on the email on February 27th, 2025, that rental rates are held in a table so that when a reservation is made in the system, the rental rate is automatically applied to the reservation. Damage deposit and fee receipt numbers are synchronized so that the same receipt number could be traced both to the rental fee and to the damage deposit paid by the renter. The IT emailed that the park office notifies me when these need update, and I manually adjust the tables. Okay, software allows for the reservation to be override the amount. This feature was requested during the initial development of the software. At that time, there were some entities that were exempt from fees and or departments. That's interesting. The IT administrator provided on February 27, 2025, below the picture of a 0 reservation entered by Erickson. I'm doing cabin rental, shelter rentals for Erickson, February 3rd, 2024, cabin rental. January 22nd, 2024. 2024 was the original entry of the cabin 5 reservation. The rental fee and the deposit amount was associated with the receipt of $97.94 were avoided and canceled by Erickson on January 29th, 2024. And so here we see just an example of how they can go in and void that out and put 000 in there. So it is what it is. Let's see here. Monitoring. The city controller's office receives copies of received fee reports, which are from the cabin tracking software after Erickson makes a deposit. Erickson takes copies of the deposit slip and received fee report, and the batch report is generated in the New World software after Erickson enters the deposit into the city system. On February 11th, 2025, the State Board of Accounts requested a sample of the received fee reports provided by Erickson to the city's controller from Wright. Below is one of the reports that was provided by the city controller's office that date. The State Board of Accounts noted $0 on the receipts numbered 10406, 10407, 10408, 10411, 10412. Clarice Burke, investment clerk, provided the sample of reports to the SBoA and stated that neither she nor any other person in the city controller's office looks at the details. Burke and others in the city controller's office only make sure that the overall totals agree in the deposit tickets. So nobody's looking over this. That's nice to know. Here we have that example of that. Per IT director, the cabin tracking software does not allow for receipts to be changed. These cabin fee reports include the $0 amount for fees for cabin rentals, which occurred when Erickson overwrote the fees that are set up in the software by IT. The cabin tracking software received fee report for receipt 9794 for Erickson cabin rental for February 3rd, 2024, showed all zeros as well. Let's see where that's at. February 3rd, right here. Oh, yeah. Okay, it's right here. He can park little house 2325 0000 across the board. Monthly financial reports. Erickson's duties include preparing various financial reports, such as monthly finance reports. Reports were not presented to the Parks and Recreation Board for review. There was not a documented review. The Parks and Recreation Board of review of financial activities, the documents related to the Parks Department collections. Per the interview with Irvin on April 15th, 2025, Irvin stated that the City Board of Works performs the final approval of contracts. There we go. The Parks and Recreation Board doesn't receive financial reports. So ding, 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 ding. There we go, ladies and gentlemen. And there it is. And this right here I think they did. I don't know if they did or not. I'll have to go back and look. But this right here is a problem. This is why, to me, the Board of Works meetings should last more than 8 minutes. They should last more than 6 minutes. They should last more than 25 minutes. If you look around the state at other cities the size of Muncie, their Board of Works meetings last, on the short end, 45 minutes. Sometimes an hour, sometimes an hour and a half, sometimes 2.5 hours. They are not meetings that are over in 6 minutes, in 8 minutes. It's absolutely ridiculous. Information and communication, the Parks and Recreation Board waiver fee policy per the facility and or equipment fee waiver request form is not effectively communicated to staff. Erickson, per the State Board of Accounts interview on April 15th, 2025, stated that she relied on verbal instruction she received when she was hired, determining who was allowed to waive a fee. The State Board of Accounts also interviewed Malone on April 15th, who had similar but varying understanding of eligibility for waiving a fee. Neither Erickson nor Malone referred to any type of policy or form. Internal controls were not in place to ensure that maintenance of documents, including policies, contracts, and forms. The Park and Recreation Board minutes indicated that contracts were reviewed by the city's legal department, and one of them sits on the board. But when the State Board of Accounts requested various documents, Malone could not provide contracts or other agreements. Erickson provided contracts for the YMCA from 2022 to 2024. Cardinal Swim for 2022, the NCAA, NAACP, the double basketball, the NAACP 2023, Byerly Limited in 2024, Mike King Heating and Cooling 2024, Be On It Band 2024, and Ball Brothers Foundation 2024. Per the State Board of Accounts inquiries and requests for agreements, Urban reached out to the Community Foundation of Muncie and Delaware County, Inc. on October 27th, 2025 for a signed copy of the agreement, as was the foundation referenced in the commitment to sponsorships, donations, and non-park related collections. The Indiana State Board of Accounts is required under Indiana Code 511.1-27E to define the acceptable minimum level of internal standards to provide clarifying guidance. The State Board Examiner compiled the standards contained in the manual, Uniform Internal Control Standards for the Indiana Political Subdivision. All political subdivisions subject to audit by State Board of Accounts is expected to adhere to these standards. These standards include adequate control activities according to this manual. Control activities are the actions and the tools established through policies and procedures that help to detect, prevent, and reduce the identified risk and interfere with the achievement of objectives. The detection and activities are designed to identify unfavorable events in a timely manner, whereas prevention activities are designed to deter the occurrence of an unfavorable event. Example of these activities include reconciliations, authorizations, approval processes, performance reviews, and verification processes. An integral part of the control activity component is segregation of duties. There is an expectation of segregation of duties. It's if compensating controls are necessary, documentation should exist to identify both the area where the segregation of duties are not feasible or practical and the compensating controls implementing mitigating to the risk. Parks and Recreation Department, City of Muncie Exit Conference. The contents of this report were discussed on March 31st, 2026 with Dan Ridenour, the mayor, Craig Wright, city controller, Matt Wegley, the deputy city controller, Dale Basham, president of the Common Council. Okay, so he didn't even have to be there. He's just a second Ridenour. Brad Marshall, president of the Parks and Recreation Board, Ashley Wright, Parks and Recreation Board member, and Mark Irvin, Parks and Recreation Board member / city attorney. I think that's very interesting. Official response. And this is what the city of Muncie has to say about all of this. Okay? Ready to hear this? It's not from Dan Ridenour. It's from Craig Wright. And this was issued on April 7th to the Indiana State Board of Accounts. Parks exit conference. Immediately following the exit conference with the State Board of Accounts involving the findings from the investigation involving Nikki Erickson and George Foley, the city suspended Miss Erickson without pay pending termination. Mr. Foley had been relieved of duties in December of 2024. The city has implemented a new payment system into the parks with a credit card system that is currently used in other departments. We are in discussion with our IT department updating the cabin tracking system, which is in need of an updated version. The city takes the use of public funds extremely serious and will always ensure they are used within the public trust. And that's what their response was. What in the hell? Parks and Recreation Department, City of Muncie summary of charges due to malfeasance, misfeasance, and nonfeasance. George Foley, former program director, collections non-deposited, page 4 through 13, special investigation costs, page 13, 14. So they're saying that he was basically responsible for taking $14,975 from the city of Muncie. The cost of his part of the special investigation was $14,962.49. Nikki Erickson was responsible for taking $6,496.10 from the city of Muncie, and her part of the investigation was $6,490.68, which means the grand total of this entire nonsense is $42,924.27. That's very interesting. This report was forwarded to the Office of the Indiana Attorney General, the local prosecuting attorney. Okay, that's good to know. And then they give the affidavit. I, Michelle Janksy, as supervisor, special investigator, being duly sworn on my oath, state that the foregoing report, based on the official records of the city of Muncie, Delaware County, Indiana, for the period of April 13th, 2020 to December 20th, 2024, is true and correct to the best of my knowledge and belief. And so then she signed off on that. Is 16th of April, 2026. And that, ladies and gentlemen, brings us to the conclusion of this report. And, all I got to say is all of this, and only two peons lost their job. George Foley and Nikki Erickson. And I'll be honest, they both deserve to lose their job. When the state police investigation is wrapped up, and when the state police turn their investigation over to the prosecutor's office, George Foley and Nikki Erickson both deserve to be charged criminally. However, ladies and gentlemen, this should affect far more people than just George Foley and Nikki Erickson. Carl Malone should lose his job. I think the park board probably should be replaced. The Board of Works should be replaced. And at this point, I mean, there's two of them in Craig's office. You've got Craig and Matt Wegley. Why are they both not looking into this stuff more and being more concerned with this? I think that they need to be replaced. I think there's far more issues going on here. And this is just one aspect. This is just the Parks Department.
Well, just, you need to quit worrying about it. It's just the usual claims.
Yeah, right. It's just the usual claims.
It's just the usual claims. It's fine.
Yeah. Yeah. It's just the usual claims. That's exactly correct. I don't know. It's totally crazy. Tomorrow, ladies and gentlemen, is the Board of Works meeting. If I can get through this tonight and get some lines put together, I think I'm going to go and address this with the Board of Works and find out exactly what's going on and what their opinion is. I think they should. I think they should have something to say about this. I think that they should apologize for their complacency and for allowing this to continue. They could have been the stop gap on this, and they just weren't. They could be the stopgap on a lot of things, and they just aren't, because the important thing with them is to get through with meetings in 4 minutes, 6 minutes, 8 minutes. We can't take an hour. We've got things we need to do. We have to hurry on through here. When I say replace the Board of Works, okay, I'll give the new guy, he could be there, but we need to replace Ted and Lola. They definitely need to go. I will not blame the new guy for this. Had he been sitting there instead of Linda all this time, this still would have happened, because he's no different. But I won't blame him for this. He doesn't get to wear this disaster. This was not on him. So that's that. They won't have anything to say. They will say they just found out about it and they don't have the details on it. No, they won't even say that. They'll say, this is public comment. This is your time to speak. Okay, thank you. Meeting adjourned. That's what they'll say. That's what they'll say. So, all right, ladies and gentlemen, this is just the beginning stages of this. I look for there to be charges against Foley, charges against Nikki Erickson. I look for, I can't wait for the state police report on this, and we will continue following this. Citizens, you have to demand more. That's just the bottom line. You have to demand more. I'm demanding it. We have to demand it together. This is not okay. This is the bare minimum. This is lower than the bare minimum. This is not okay. At the very least, they should recognize why it's important to actually look at the expenses. Yeah, absolutely. They should do that. Okay. Hey, no problem, David Williams. And I promise you, in the next day or so, I'm going to get the TV up. I've got everything cleaned out here. I've got everything done the way I want it to be. We're going to start using the monitor, and I won't be always cranking my head this way. I'll be spending more time looking to you and doing that. And I didn't get the haircut today. I know I just had too much going on, and so that'll happen. When will the charges against Megan and John? Well, before the charges come, the investigation has to complete. So the charges on Megan and John aren't being considered at this point because the state police still have that investigation. So before charges can be considered, the investigation has to come to an end, and then the investigation has to be turned over to the prosecutor's office before charges can be considered. So they're still running the investigation. And as we've seen, this investigation took 2 years. Now, I don't look for that investigation to take anywhere this long. Matter of fact, I think it will wrap up pretty quickly. But yeah. Hey, look, Wayne made it to the end. I appreciate Wayne. I'm glad that you're here. And I'll shoot you a message or something tomorrow, brother. And I'm happy to hear about that podcast. And like I said, anything I can do to help you out, I'll be here, and we'll do what we can. I'm excited. I'm excited to hear what you got to do, what you got to say. I think it'll be good. All right, ladies and gentlemen, thank you all very much. I appreciate it. Absolutely. Sure. Same thing they did is exactly what the Parks guy did. 1000%. So it'll be interesting to see what happens. All right, you guys, take care. Good night. God bless. We'll be back with candidate interview tomorrow, and then whatever happens afterwards. But we'll see you guys tomorrow. Take care and good night. Bye. Yeah, thank you. Not so fast.